Hello everybody, today I'm going to be talking about The Lightning Thief, the first book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series by Rick Riordan. This book basically follows 12-year-old Percy Jackson as he is put in a lot of dangerous situations because he's a demigod. If you have not read this book, I highly recommend that you do, and if you've seen the movie and think that counts as reading the book, you're completely wrong because they are so different, it's not even funny. The movie actually made me want to read the book. I was actually in middle school when these books came out, and I wasn't a big reader back then, and my senior year of high school, this movie came out and it just happened to be what we went on our senior trip to see. And it was so good, at least to me, since I hadn't read the books, it was so good that I wanted to pick up the books as soon as I heard that it was a book to movie adaptation. From a movie standpoint, this is actually a really good movie. From a book to movie adaptation standpoint, it's pretty bad. I overall really like the movie, and I still like the movie even though it's much different than the book, but I've separated them in my mind, I guess, because I've watched this like a blue million times and I've only read the book like twice. So I'm able to separate these really well, and I do hope that they continue making the books into movies. Moving on to the book, this is my first reread of the book, so I went into this book, I knew a little bit of the details. This is actually the only Percy Jackson book that I actually remember little things that happened, like the thing with Medusa and the pearls and the whole encounter with Cerberus. There's like small little things that I remember, but there's a lot of things that I didn't. Like the Furies, fighting them on the bus. I didn't remember how the book ended at all. The arch scene, I do not remember the arch and that stupid chihuahua, but I think it was one of my favorite scenes. Percy Jackson as a character, I really loved him, and I loved the relationship between him and his mother. I think this is the first parent-child relationship that I actually enjoyed. I think overall I loved all the characters. Even I think the only character I didn't like was Luke and a little bit of Grover, because I liked Grover, but he made me mad at several points at the beginning of the book, but towards the end I really started to like him. One of the things that I didn't like about Chiron is the fact that he's keeping so much from Percy, and I realized at the end he was doing that because he promised the gods that he wouldn't say anything about this prophecy, but there is a limit to how much you don't tell a kid. So I'm kind of frustrated at Chiron because he won't tell Percy anything, but I understand why he can't at the same time. I also love how everything is described in this book. It's some books you get like 2 or 3 pages of just description upon description of what something looks like, and it can be like the smallest, most unimportant thing. But this, it's like you have like maybe a sentence or two describing what the cabins on camp look like, what the camp itself looks like, what a monster looks like, and it's so nice to have so little detail, but it also be very clear to picture in your mind. Another thing I want to talk about, since I haven't reread the other books, so it's not exactly, I can't exactly remember, but it said in the book that they couldn't use cell phones. Oh, sorry, black and white. They couldn't use cell phones because they were traceable by monsters. Does that mean that it's just cell phones that they can't use, or is it all electronics that they can't use? Because if it's only cell phones, that means that the tablet that Annabeth uses in the Sea of Monsters movie is actually okay, because it's not technically a cell phone, so it can't be trackable. But I'm not sure. If any of you know if it's just electronics overall or just cell phones, please let me know in the comments below. I mean, because I don't know how long it's going to take me to get through these books, and it has really aggravated me. After I reread this book, I mean, like I said, I watched the movie first, so I already knew that Luke was behind all of this. But when I first read the book, I didn't realize how obvious it was that Luke was the one that was going to betray him in the end. I mean, it's like Christine said on her book talk, he only has 3 friends at this camp. And it's like, it's not Grover, it's not Annabeth, it's obviously going to be Luke. But even without that, there are so many things that are just mentioned throughout the book that it's like, okay, obviously he's the one that's going to betray you in the end. So it kind of frustrated me, but I kind of see how Percy didn't immediately come to that, because he may have not have, I don't know if he actually considered Luke a friend or not, because what did it say in the book? It says, you shall be betrayed by one who calls you a friend. By one who calls you a friend. So technically, does that mean that Percy has to consider them a friend, or do they have to consider Percy a friend? And if it's only that they have to consider Percy a friend, then maybe Percy just didn't even think of them as a friend, and that's why he never even considered Luke being the one that was going to betray him. If that's the case, then I can, I totally understand that. But if he did consider Luke a friend, I mean, that would have been the first person to come to my mind. And can I just say how obvious it was that Percy was the son of Poseidon? I think Annabeth suspected that he was the son of Poseidon after the whole bathroom scene with Clarice, which was hilarious, by the way. But it was so obvious then, but she didn't say anything about it. And I kind of understand, because at that point she didn't really know Percy, and Athena and Poseidon are like butting heads like constantly. But she suspected. But then we get to the capture of the flag, and she sees that he's healed with the water and everything, and she's like, I thought it would have been Zeus. And it's like, really, after that bathroom scene, you thought it would have been Zeus? No. But I love the fact that Poseidon claimed him. I didn't like the circumstances in which he claimed him. I mean, it's like, you knew. It's like you couldn't have claimed him like when he first came to camp. You had to wait until everybody sees him healing, and you kind of have no choice. It's kind of what it felt like, that he had no choice but to claim Percy, and that if he had had the choice, he wouldn't have, which I understand it would just been for his own safety. It kind of makes me mad and not really like Poseidon, and it also made me sad at the end when Poseidon was basically telling Percy, you were a terrible mistake, I'm sorry you were born, and it's like, what am I supposed to say to this? And Percy just bows to him and say, I'll try to stay out of your way. And I was like, I would have bust out crying. I mean, I would have got out of there first, but then I would have just broke down and cried as soon as I got off Mount Olympus. I know this discussion is like going all over the place, but it's like everything's coming at me little by little. I highly enjoyed Thalia's story, even though I don't like her as a character, or at least I recall not liking her as a character. I may like her more with this read through, but I vaguely recall from the first time I read this book series that I did not like Thalia. So I'm hoping my opinion changes of her, but I don't see it changing. And can I just say, the one thing that I completely forgot about, that I wish I hadn't, was Percy mailing Medusa's head to Olympus. Can I also add, I'm right here on the page, and it's like, everywhere Percy and them go, they find address labels to DOA Recording Studios, West Hollywood, California, and it's like, it's Hades' address, and they're finding it all over the flippin' place. I want to know why it was at the mattress store. I don't understand that. I mean, do gods even sleep? And I just love how I signed it with best wishes, Percy Jackson. And I also loved it after they fight Medusa and they run off, before they can be attacked by anything else, they fall asleep in this clearing, and the next morning Grover has this pink poodle that just like showed up out of nowhere. And this is where we find out Grover can talk to animals. I'm not saying hello to a pink poodle. Forget it. Percy, I said hello to the poodle. You say hello to the poodle. Arr, I said hello to the poodle. It was just one of those odd situations that you can't help but cracking up at. It's like half this book you spend laughing at the sarcastic and sassy remarks, and then it's like, I love Percy's internal dialogue. It's just so funny. I think my favorite of Percy's internal dialogue is when they're being held at sword and gunpoint in Hades' throne room. Do you think I want war, godling? Well, these guys don't look like peace activists, but I thought that might be a dangerous answer. Just dialogue like that has me cracking up and just wanting to read more and more and more. I completely forgot about the thrill ride of love in this book. It's just, I don't see how I forgot about it. It's one of the funniest scenes in the book. It's when Hephaestus, I think is how you pronounce his name, is trying to catch his wife Aphrodite, and Aries. Percy asks Annabeth to come with him to check out the boat and get the shield back while Grover stands point up top of the flying shoes. Are you kidding me? What's the problem? Me, go with you to the thrill ride of love? How embarrassing is that? What if someone saw me? Who's gonna see you? Leave it to a girl to make everything complicated. I just cracked up at that part. And I think that was like one of my favorite parts about the whole book was just that scene. It was just too funny. Another thing that I really liked about this book is how everything got resolved at the very end for Percy. It's like throughout the whole book, everyone thinks he's a international criminal. It's like, and he's doing all these horrible things like blowing up monuments and like blowing up buses. He goes from being a criminal to being a kidnap victim by Ares. But I just loved that, and how Hades, after he got his helmet back, which was a badass fight on Percy's point. I did not know Percy had it in him. But after that fight and he gets the helmet back, gives it to the Furies, Hades lets his mother go, and that right there is why Hades is my favorite god at this point. Hades and Poseidon have always been my favorite gods. But I do love how everything wrapped up. Percy got his mother back. Percy gave his mother Medusa's head so she could get rid of Gabe whenever she was ready, which I gotta say, Percy's mom is so badass. I mean, she makes Gabe into a statue and then sells him for money that she uses to pay for college and Percy's schooling and a new apartment. And it's like, yay, everything's working out for them in the end. And she really deserves it from all the crap she's been putting up with. And he deserved it too. It was just something that was so good to see, that everything wraps up nicely for at least one of the characters in the end. I mean, technically things wrap up well for Percy, except for the whole scorpion bite, best friend betrayal, and having to face 9 months of school and potentially disastrous situations with monsters. But aside from that, it wrapped up nicely. I like how Annabeth in the end is taking Percy's advice and giving her father and stepmother another chance. And I hope everything goes well. I can't remember how all that turns out. Well, those are my thoughts for Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. You guys should let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of this book and what your favorite moments were. Mine, like, I had so many, but I think the thrill ride of love was one of my top favorites. I mean, it's gotta be. That was just hilarious and cute and funny, and it's just, I loved it. I don't know if I'll be reviewing the rest of the books in the series, not because I don't want to, but because there's a lot of things that are taking up my time at the moment. My uncle's house burnt down 2 weeks ago, and he's living with us now, and there's a lot of stuff that has to be dealt with, and I just don't have a lot of time for reading or videos. And then I'm dog sitting all of this week, so that also takes a lot of time. That's Annie. That's one of the dogs I'm sitting for. The other one is actually 6 weeks old and not that bad actually. So you guys should let me know in the comments below if you would like to see me do discussion videos for all of the books. Well, until next time guys, bye!